a new technology for transmitting the classes in real time in different languages. So this should be a great boost to the audience, because there are people throughout the world that are very much interested in understanding Guru Tattva, the proper relationship with a bona fide spiritual master, and how it can help you on your serious efforts to make advancement in spiritual life. And nowadays, there's so much chaos in the world, very much so. And we see that in the Karmi news, which is being broadcast to people every day on the current political and war situations. It's hard to know what is really going on. I know that this week I had an extensive Garuda Prabhu, extensive conversation with devotees from the Ukraine. About an hour and a half, we did a Zoom call on it, and they gave me all kinds of information about the situation there in terms of their being persecuted by their own God brothers and God sisters who are in ISKCON and are very much opposed to them translating and producing books that are not edited and being distributed by them in Ukraine and in the Russian-speaking countries. Yes, even amongst their own God brothers, there have been threats, Nilesh, against them, and serious threats. Over there, it's a lot more, how can I say, different than here. The people there are in great difficulty, especially in Ukraine. Now they've made a law that they want only books in Ukrainian, in Ukraine. And they said very much so, it's like the way the people are being treated there. They just go on the streets and pick up the young men and take them to a training camp for a week and then put them in uniforms and put them out to war. It's terrible what's going on. And these Prabhus are in the middle of that. And along with that trouble, they've got the trouble with the disciples of Radhanath, who are threatening them with physical violence because they say that they're blasphemous because they're distributing original Prabhupada books. And the Prabhus there that I spoke to, there's two of them, are amazing. They really are. And the one Prabhu has distributed a whole tractor trailer of books, original books. He's printed books in Russian and Ukraine. The Sri Upanishad, he's translated, they put the Easy Journey to Other Planets, and a whole other series of small books. And they've also done something very interesting, just so everyone knows. They've created a Prabhupada Murti, a beautiful little Prabhupada Murti. They're very creative people. And we're going to help them, our group, in distributing these Prabhupada Murtis to Prabhupada disciples, or whoever wants them, really. And also, the Prabhu, his wife, makes these outstanding bead bags, which they've sold thousands of them. It's a young couple, they're only in their 20s. And somehow, with all this difficulty, have no money, but they're very creative and they're ambitious to spread the pure message of Srila Prabhupada in that country, despite the difficulties, not only from the government, but from their own members in the ISKCON group that are threatening them because they're doing this, and they passed a resolution which is circulating now by the GBC there, banning the original Prabhupada books. Can you imagine? So this is in real time, it's unfortunate. But we want to help them, and we will help them. Garuda, I'm planning to give them some sort of assistance in the best way we can as our group in organizing ways and means to distribute these Prabhupada Murtis throughout our network. We have a fairly large network, as you know. On Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook, we have 26,000 members. So we'll make people aware of the opportunity to get these Murtis, and also the bead bags, and like that, through our different mediums, as we're working on them to develop them. Because it's difficult to get really quality people. It is. We're going to read some things today in the diary, that reveal how difficult it was for Prabhupada in the early days when people were coming to him to find really good quality people that he could work with. It is a characteristic of preaching work that, and Jesus said it many times, many are called, few are chosen. And this is a situation. Not that many people are really interested or really serious about the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada and the protection of his words and messages without change or adulteration. And there's opposition. As you know, Nilesh, we had our one devotee in Sacramento. And by the way, he has purchased a new building there, and he isn't attending right now because he's busy moving in and getting it set up as a Prabhupada center in that state of California. So that's quite a big move for him and a lot of responsibility. And so we have to, Prabhupada told me that when we bought the Toronto temple, Nilesh, he asked me, I was in a private darshan, I think I mentioned it in a previous class. He said, how is the book distribution? I was sitting in his room and I said, well, Srila Prabhupada, the books, some books, they're not being as distributed as much as before. He goes, that's all right, some books. And we have to take difficulty, he said to me, to spread Krishna consciousness. We have to take some trouble, which we'll read today in the diaries, of the trouble that Srila Prabhupada had in New York City back in 1966. It's quite revealing, actually, how difficult it was for him. But he never gave up on his efforts. And the same with us. We're in a much better situation based on the time that we're in now, 2024, and all of us in our efforts to work together to please Srila Prabhupada. And we made a big advancement just quickly in the work on the Bhagavatams, the Srimad Bhagavatams, the Delhi edition. And I don't want to, I'm just saying we're getting all the details now on how to do this. It's like a revelation in motion, like as you keep going. Because as I mentioned earlier, we originally were going to get the books through the KBI group, Garuda Prabhu. And it appears through some kind of legal proceedings that are going on in India between the BBT in India and KBI, that they've stopped the KBI group, from printing the original books, which is unfortunate. And therefore, we've had to work on a different work with different resources to get this done. And we're moving close to this unfolding within this week. And I'm just getting all the details from a local printer on the specs. Here they are. Here, this is them there. Sorry. These dust covers and the printing, the type of paper. And we've got a quote that's very attractive. So we're seeing Krishna work. This is the difference between people that do something and people that talk about it. In our group, we've been doing things. We did raise the money. That was a very interesting pastime. How that unfolded, I'm not sure how it all came about, that we ended up doing this and writing the script and getting other people to help us and then launching this and get these books. Amazing opportunity for all of us to witness Krishna helping us in real time, because this is a great achievement, as you know, to be able to reprint the Delhi Bhagavatams and put them in our offices, branch offices that we have listed at the end of our program. So one thing is to get them, one thing is to get the money, then to find the printing, and then get it printed, then it's shipped, then it's distributed, and then further distributed to people throughout the world. So there are many steps in every action. That I know from many, many businesses I've been in my life, many of them. And nowadays when people ask me, okay, we can do this or that, I go, no, thank you. Not interested. Why? Because every activity, every endeavor requires a lot of details. And you have to be attentive to the details. So this entire project and the distribution, and Nilesh, just so you know, I've encouraged this person that's planning to print for us that we will bring forward more books on a small scale, just to help the devotees that we're working with have some kind of resource for distributing original books, which are now being canceled through this lawsuit with the BBT. Can you imagine how this is unfolding? Right before your very eyes, before our very eyes, all these things are going on. So I think that's enough of the introduction, just to give you an insight into things and how they're unfolding. And I wanted to move forward with the diary readings from Srila Prabhupada in 1966. And we're at Saturday, February 19th, 1966. And Prabhupada is living in that, as you know, office 301 in that office building down from Mishra. So on Saturday, February 19th, Prabhupada invited Mr. Banerjee to come here tomorrow evening. So one by one, he's working. Ruchisha Mat Devi Dasi. He's working one by one with people. Expenditures was butter, 40 cents. And in the evening, Mr. Paul, that's Paul Murray, the LSD addict, and Mrs. LeBlanc came, attended a meeting from 6 to 8:30 p.m. 2 people. That's all he had. Sunday, the 20th of February, 66. Today, Mr. Banerjee did not come. Cohen and Salak came. Introduction to Gita Upanishad recorded, 2 sides, 3 hours. And the footnote is, the latter became the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So he's working very early in his efforts to push forward with printing the Bhagavad Gita, which he had the manuscript, I believe, stolen. He had to restart it. We'll find out later as we're reading. On Monday, the 21st of February 1966, today's meeting was attended by a greater number of members than other days. They liked the introduction record very much. Some of them brought fruits for me, and Mrs. LeBlanc paid $3. No letter received, no expenditures made. A great inconvenience was caused today by oozing out of dirty water from the sink. It spoiled all the mattresses on the floor. The superintendent was informed, but he could not help. He said he would report the matter in the office. So Prabhupada had sitting places on the floor, and the sewage water came up. He had a sink, no bathroom, but he did have a sink, and the sink backed up. Can you imagine? So very inconvenient from him. I guess his mattress where he was sleeping was ruined. So you'll see what happens as we read along here. He's going to make arrangements to stay out of the place at Mishra's and at the ashram in the mountains there, while he waits for the superintendent to get the sink fixed, which goes on and on. Delayed by these fools there in New York. Tuesday, February 22nd, the report of the sink disturbance is informed in writing to the landlord's office. Today's being a holiday, the office of the landlord was closed and letter not delivered. I went to see the house at Brooklyn with Baba Kanayan. The house is not suitable for my purpose. In the evening was a meeting up to 9:30 p.m. So he had those two people come over. So he made do. Wednesday, the 23rd of February, today the inspector of the landlord came to see the sink, and they will send a plumber tomorrow. Meeting was held. The collection was $6. Expenditures of bus fare to Times Square was 30 cents. Mrs. LeBlanc took away the tape recorder for writing introduction to Gita Upanishad. International Institute for God Consciousness for the proposal and signatures of the members. So this was the original name that Prabhupada had come up with, and then he changed it to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as we all know. Today signed by the floating members, so this intent to form. So very aggressive. Vegetables were 30 cents. Income was $6, expenditures was 60 cents, and $5.40 for the net income. And today no letters were received. And here we have Thursday, February 24th. So we got a letter from Mr. Pandya, captain, received. The income was $1 and there was no expenditures. That was the captain from the Jaladuta. One young man came from downtown, Mr. Robert. The Sankirtan record was played. He liked it. The plumber did not turn up. So it's more inconvenience. Friday, February 25th, watch what happens. The following letters received, one from Mr. Tirtha Maharaj, two from Nepal Permanent Commission, three from Vrindavan, Vrindavan Chandra Day, Srila Prabhupada's son, who was living in Calcutta, that's who it is, and four from the United States Navigation Company. The following letters were dispatched. Mr. Prem Gandhi to Sally Agarwal. Vrindavan's letter replied. Went to Ananda Ashram, Monroe. The plumber did not turn up, and there were no expenditures. Just see. It's life is quick, and these things come and go, but just see how Prabhupada's handling it. Very calm and very focused on his mission. Here we have Prabhupada, some pictures. These pictures were taken from 16 millimeters films shot by an amateur photographer. There You have the pictures. Look, there's Prabhupada. He looks quite young there. And then the other photos there. You can switch over. Thank you. Very well done. Excellent, Nilesh. Very well done. Beautiful. Very interesting. Very serious. People would say, what is Prabhupada? It's not that he's serious, he's angry. He's a serious man about what he's doing. No frivolous behavior from Srila Prabhupada. So we'll go to Saturday, February 26th, The whole day and night remained at Ananda Ashram. Kirtan demonstration was given. Dr. Mishra appreciated it very much. Next morning also invited, no expense. Okay, so he's at the Ananda Ashram. Why? Because of this inconvenience at his residence or office, let's say. So he's being very, very smart how he's handling himself. On Sunday, February 27th, the whole day remained at Ananda Ashram in Monroe. Kirtan demonstration in the morning. Record was taken by Mr. Bill, but it was not successful. In the evening return, no letter received. Kirtan performed. Neen Gordon attended. Plumber did not come. Plumber still not showed up. Ruchisha Devi Dasi. We're used to that. One torn suitcase brought by Nina, clothes put into it, it was very nice, so Prabhupada was happy with that place to store his stuff again. There was no income and there was no expenditures. And do we have one more date? Monday the 28th? Did I send that over, Nilesh? No? Okay.
No, that's it.
Okay, so that's fine. What we'll do is we'll move ahead. Let's see if Yaśodā-nandana's here. Garuda Prabhu, we'll move ahead with the Jaya Radha Madhava prayer. Oh, Yaśoda's here. Excellent. So we'll move ahead with the regular program. Yaśoda's in his car on the road again, doing some important service, but not missing his duty to be a part of the class, and we thank him very much for his stickability, his determination to stick to the program. And what we'll do is we'll move forward with the class as regular, and then just before we get to the Yaśoda, I mentioned, before we get to the beginning of the verses, Nilesh is going to mention about this new translating program for us, and then we'll move forward with the program. Hare Krishna, all glories to Prabhupada. Let's hear Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, sang by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Banachari, Jamuna Tira Banachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीर बनचारी यमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी भगवान की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तमंड की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय गुरु द्वारका धाम की जय स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जय और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली और ग्लोरी टू द असम्बली थैंक यू वेरी मच
Your microphone, Yaśodā, Prabhu.
Yaśodā Prabhu, you need to unmute.
Pardon? Unmute him, Prabhu, please.
Let me see if I can unmute him. Yeah.
Ahead, Nilesh, you were going to make a presentation?
Yeah, let me do that. Let me
Okay.
quickly talk. What we are trying to do over here is we are trying to create a little pilot program. It's still under kind of experiment. Myself and Venkat Prabhu, we tried this out. This is not the best ideal program. We're going to try another program also. But I'd like to have a feedback from everybody over here. We've got 4 languages right now. I've got an English interpretation into French, into Italian, into Hindi, and Spanish. But I don't know whether I can individualize it or not yet. But once Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu starts with his main lecture, I will do that. And it is a free trial right now. So we're going to try it for 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, it'll stop on its own. So it's more for an experiment. So a little feedback would help from everybody. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah,
Om
just do it
Namo
after the
Bhagavate.
verses. Do it after the verses. Go ahead, Yaśodā, please. Sorry.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Tato Jayam Udirayat. One should utter the means of conquest by offering respectful obeisances, one, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, two, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, three, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and four, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As we do every week, we will be reading a few selected verses from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta itself, from Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 18 to 22, describing the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 18 Thakur Gadiya ke Karye Chenoyatma Sat 18 Charanavandan Tere Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the hearts and mind and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Rambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smarane Ai Vigna Vinashana Anayasi Ai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Se Mangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirvada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 5, text number. What is the text number we are reading, Nilesh? I can't see the text, too small. What number?
Second. Give me 1 second, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think we're reading the same purport as last week.
It's
And
22.
we're continuing the same purport.
Yeah, it's verse 22.
Yeah.
The purport. It's the fourth paragraph down.
Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpavriksha laksha vriteshu surabhirabi palayantam lakshmi sahasrashata sambramase vyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He's always served with great reverence affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. We will be reading on page 387, last paragraph. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge conclude that a place void of material qualities must be some sort of formless nothingness. In reality, however, there are qualities in the spiritual world, but they are different from the material qualities because everything there is eternal, unlimited, and pure. The atmosphere there is self-illuminating, and thus there is no need of a sun, a moon, or fire, electricity, and so on. One who can reach that abode does not come back to the material world with a material body. There is no difference between atheists and the faithful in the Vaikuntha planets because all who settle there are freed from the material qualities, and thus suras and asuras become equally obedient, loving servitors of the Lord. Page 388. The residents of Vaikuntha have brilliantly black complexions, much more fascinating and attractive than the dull white and black complexions found in the material world. Their bodies, being spiritual, have no equals in the material world. The beauty of a bright cloud when lightning flashes on merely hints at their beauty. Generally, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha dress in yellow clothing. Their bodies are delicate and attractively built, and their eyes are like the petals of lotus flowers. Like Lord Vishnu, the residents of Vaikuntha have 4 hands decorated with a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Their chests are beautifully broad and fully decorated with necklaces of a brilliant diamond-like metal surrounded by costly jewels never to be found in the material world. The residents of Vaikuntha are always powerful and effulgent. Some of them have complexions like red coral, cat's eyes, and lotus flowers, and each of them has earrings of costly jewels. On their head, they wear flowery crowns resembling garlands. In the Vaikunthas, there are airplanes, but they make no tumultuous sounds. Material airplanes are not at all safe. They can fall down and crash at any time, for matter is imperfect in every respect. In the spiritual sky, however, the airplanes are also spiritual, and they are spiritually brilliant and bright. These airplanes do not fly business executives, politicians, or planning commissions as passengers, nor do they carry cargo or postal bags, for these are all unknown there. These planes are for pleasure trips only, and the residents of Vaikuntha fly in them with their heavenly, beautiful fairy-like consorts. Therefore, these airplanes, full of residents of Vaikuntha, both male and female, increase the beauty of the spiritual sky. We cannot imagine how beautiful they are, for their beauty may be compared to the clouds in the sky, accompanied by silver branches of electric lightning. The spiritual sky of Vaikuntha Loka is always decorated in this way. The full opulence of the internal potency of Godhead is always resplendent in the Vaikuntha Loka, whose goddesses of fortune are ever increasingly attached to serving the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. These goddesses of fortune, accompanied by their friends, always create a festive atmosphere of transcendental mirth. Always singing the glories of the Lord, they are not silent even for a moment. There are unlimited Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and the ratio of these planets to the material planets in the material sky is 3-1. Thus, the poor materialist is busy making political adjustments on a planet that is most insignificant in God's creation. To say nothing of this planet Earth, the whole universe with innumerable planets throughout the galaxies is comparable to a single mustard seed in a bag full of mustard seeds. But the poor materialist makes plans to live comfortably here and thus waste his valuable human energy in something that is doomed to frustration. Instead of wasting his time with business speculations, he might have sought the life of plain living and high spiritual thinking, and thus saved himself from perpetual materialistic unrest. Even if a materialist wants to enjoy developed material facilities, he can transfer himself to planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on Earth. The best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. The Ashtanga Yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling air by transferring from the stomach to the navel, from the navel to the heart, from the heart to the collarbone, and from there to the eyeballs, from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind because in a moment, we can transfer our mind to places hundreds of thousands of miles away. Intelligence is even finer. Finer than intelligence is the soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but is spirit or antimatter. The soul is hundreds of thousands of times finer and more powerful than intelligence. We can thus only imagine the velocity of the soul in its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namah Bhagavad Vandadam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Amsho Bhagavatusmyam Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshagonityam Tat Prishtashat Karomi Swam Adada Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, thanks everybody for participating. Kindly excuse my voice. Too much wind causing trouble in my throat, laryngitis. Very important direction, new direction of the program. Thank you very much, Nilesh Prabhu and Vishwakarma Prabhu and Venkat Bhatta Prabhu with helping with this new presentation, new improvements in the beginning of the program. As we refine this more and more, and we eventually have the program translated in different languages, we appreciate your patience and consideration while we move forward with these different formats. What is very interesting about this purport, we've discussed many times how this entire material creation, the purpose is for the living entities to go back home, back to Godhead. But somebody may say, well, how do we do that? In the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes from the Purusha Sukta, which describes Vedahamitam Purushan Mahantam Adityavarnam Tamasa Parastat, that one should know that personality who is beyond all the darkness of this material world, who shines bright like the sun. And by knowing this person, one can surpass all the darkness of the material world and become liberated. And it describes Nanya Panta Anayaya, that there's no other way to go out of this material world, out of the suffering. There's no other. One has to learn about the great personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Narayana. Now, this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana, and especially in the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. In other words, in this material world, under the influence of Maya or illusion, we're attached here to this condition, thinking, trying to make this place a happy place. But as we've discussed many times, this material world is not a happy place. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which describes that the inhabitants of Satyaloka are constantly wishing the inhabitants of the lower planets, such as the Earth planets and lower planets, the very best wishes so that they can escape from their miserable condition of hunger, thirst, sex desire, anxiety, constant strife for enjoyment in the material world, resulting only in misery. We see that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, Dukkalayam asasvatam, that this material world is full of misery and is temporary. Therefore, trying to make a permanent solution here will not result in happiness. We see in the Bhagavad Gita itself where Krishna describes that living entities in the material world are struggling very hard with their senses to be happy, but they're not able to find happiness here. That so-called happiness has been described by great acharyas. Kamala dala jala jivana talama. It is just like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. For those of you who have been to India, they have these lotus flowers, they grow in a pond. And sometime a drop of water will fall on the lotus leaf, but it will not stay there very long. It will fall off. So this material world is like that. This so-called happiness is just like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. It falls out very quickly. It is temporary, subject to finish any time. But the real happiness means to take shelter of the name of Krishna. In the Padma Purana, there's a description that great yogis who are situated transcendentally are constantly enjoying transcendental bliss by hearing the name of Lord Rama. Ramante yugidanante satyananda chidatmani iti Rama padinaso param brahma abhidiyate. That these great personalities constantly sing the name of Lord Rama. And by doing so, Ramante yugananante, they are enjoying great transcendental bliss. But of course, sometimes, as described by Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, because of our diseased condition of materialistic illusion, in the beginning of this chanting, sometimes we don't get the taste. Just like a person who is affected by jaundice cannot taste food properly. Everything feels bitter. But by gradually taking sugar cane, one recovers from that disease condition. Similarly, if one chants the name of Krishna with patience, avoiding offenses, following the order of the spiritual master, one can gradually revive that relationship with Krishna, enjoy the taste of the name of Krishna, which is the source of all transcendental bliss. In the Padma Purana, it is also described that the name of Krishna, abhinatvam nama namina, nama and nami, that the name of Krishna is non-different than the person Krishna, nami. One has to become convinced of this. And by constantly hearing and chanting the name of Krishna, his activities, his qualities, his form, his incarnation, his transcendental nectar, everything gradually becomes revealed. We've often discussed as part of this program how Srila Prabhupada used to emphasize Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyete Caitanya-caritāmṛta Prakāsanti Mahatmanaha. This is from the Shveta Upanishad. It is described for those who have firm faith in the name of Krishna, in the form of Krishna, and the bona fide Acharya. For those personalities, Prakāsanti Mahatmanaha, all the meanings of Vedic literature is revealed to them. Understanding the meaning of Vedic literature is not merely through academic study or scholarship. It is done by hearing the message of Krishna from a bona fide, self-realized pure Acharya. And by repeatedly hearing, one can revive that relationship with Krishna. Thank you very much. I have to get back on the road here. I'm just north of Bakersfield on Highway 99. And thank you very much, Nilesh Prabhu, for this new format that is being developed. It's very, very encouraging. If I may respectfully suggest, the Sanskrit verses or Bengali verses, we should put them each line separate. The lines should not be merged or mixed, but that is something you can gradually fix. It's not very difficult. But this is very, very encouraging, especially if we can get in different languages like Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, and Kannada language and other languages, what to speak of French, Spanish, English, Portuguese. This will be a great step that will be very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. Again, thank you very much. Thank Vishwakarma. Thank Rupesh Prabhu. Thanks Venkat Prabhu as well, and everybody that is involved in listening to the program, the production of the program, and all glories to His Divine Grace and His great transcendental teachings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And we do appreciate your constant efforts to spread the glories of Srila Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation to all of us, and your memories of your pastimes with him. It's a great insight that many people don't get because their association with others does not have that.
Okay, we're on the road.
specific opportunity for them. And this particular program provides us, with its membership, this opportunity to get insights of pastimes directly from Srila Prabhupada. And I wanted to, Nilesh, go back to today's purport in chapter 5, text 22, where Prabhupada speaks about velocities of air and light. And I wanted to read them. It's at 389, going down halfway in that paragraph. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind. Yes, go ahead. Page 389. I don't know if it's the same. Even if a material, yeah, just below there, even in that the velocity, there you are, in this paragraph here.
Can you read the paragraph, the beginning of the paragraph?
Yeah, even if a materialist wants to enjoy,
Yes.
develop material facilities, he can transfer himself to the planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on the earth. The best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. Very deep information here, everyone. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. The Ashtanga yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling air by transferring it from the stomach to the navel, from the navel to the heart, from the heart to the collarbone, and from there to the eyeballs, and from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind because in a moment we can transfer our minds to places hundreds of thousands of miles away. Just quickly, I wanted to mention, I'm realizing in the morning, you know how Nilesh, you go through the different periods of sleep. And fortunately, we're not responsible for activity in sleep. There is no karmic result from it. We'll go back to that section, by the way, in a minute. But the fact of the matter is, you see how intense the mind is. All the thoughts that go through, even in one's life, right from childhood to teenager life, to middle life, to old age. You get all these memories and thoughts in the mind. I wake up, I go, oh my God, how did I dream all this nonsense? And then finally I realized, Nilesh, oh, it's just a dream, thank God. And I realized, okay, get up, get your prepared, and go chant your rounds, Vishvakarma, and wake up out of this conditioned state. The velocity of the mind. So Prabhupada is talking here about the velocity of the mind, how it travels to hundreds of thousands of miles away just in a moment. And intelligence is even finer. Finer than intelligence is the soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but is spirit of antimatter. The soul is hundreds of thousands of times finer and more powerful than intelligence. We can thus only imagine the velocity of the soul in its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. Very, very interesting information here from a pure devotee. This is not information that's coming by mental speculation. This is coming by self-realization and transcendental knowledge being presented to us by Krishna through the via media spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Extraordinary opportunity for us to get insight which no one can have. No one except those people that are completely surrendered to Srila Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation. I wanted to mention as we move forward to get to the discussion that Prabhupada told us a devotee sees with his ears, not with his eyes. Very important. And today's purport, which we're reading from Brahma Samhita, such deep insight into the spiritual world. How do you get that insight? Simply by repeating Shastra? No, through self-realization. Prabhupada is a pure devotee, realized in Krishna consciousness, beyond the material world. And he's transmitting this information. And only those people, Nilesh Prabhu, and you know this, that are surrendered to him 1000% can only connect with him and get some kind of a taste of this vision that he is giving to us in these scriptures. These classes are transcendental opportunities for us to advance because of association. And association, Prabhus, is so important in Krishna consciousness, because this is the problem with the modern world. People are associating with demons. They're associating with karmis. They're associating with sense gratifiers. They're associating with the media. They're associating with all these nefarious activities which are degrading them, very much so. There's a recent story, as you know, Nilesh, in Florida, there was some guy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs or something. See how degraded he is. There's going to be a court case. They offered $50 million to get him out of jail, and the judge refused. Because there'll be a court case and whatever it is, some kind of nefarious activities. But association is the problem. Bad association will ruin you. You tell your kids that. Don't associate with these people. I have 4 children from my previous marriage, and we always taught them, watch who you associate with. If you associate with the wrong people, you'll become corrupted by them. And that's what's going on, not only within the karmi world, but in the spiritual circles that we're in. And we've talked about this, Nilesh. You associate with these people, you'll become contaminated. And that contamination is spread everywhere throughout the world. So very, very difficult. I wanted to quickly, just before we go to the panel, I've been reading the Gita, and there was a couple of sections that stood out to me, and I'm hoping you can find them. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, Nilesh, page 724, if you can source it out. It's text 1 to 3, but it's in the purport. And Prabhupada's talking here about spiritual development in this purport. And I saw Prabhupada's personal...
Prabhuji, can you repeat the shlokas?
Yeah, it's page 724 in the Gita, chapter 16, text 1 to 3. It's in the purport, so it's on page 724 of the Bhagavad Gita. So getting back to this, I saw in this particular section how Prabhupada was explaining things from his own personal realization, not by some kind of repetition of philosophy, by memorization or whatever, by his actual understanding. And so here, let's see if we can get that. Keep going. The next item is Let's see if it's here. No, keep going. Yeah, keep going. It's coming up right now. The next item is Jnana Yoga. Ahimsa. No, back. Sorry, everyone. Ahimsa. No, back. Okay. Keep going. Sacrifice. Charity. Before charity. Keep going. Back. There's charity. Keep going. Okay. The next item is Jagya Yoga Vyavastiti, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Very important point about sannyas life. Sannyas life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood. Just see what we're reading in the diaries, Mother. How Prabhupada was conducting himself in New York in the early days with no money. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person. And out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is what he was doing with Dr. Mishra. This is the duty of a sannyasi. He is actually advanced, and so ordered by his spiritual master. He should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if he is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. Think about this, everyone. What's going on with all these people running around in pink robes. But even if he has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. And that's what Prabhupada was doing in relation to his guru, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. A sannyasi, or one in the renounced order of life, must be situated in fearlessness. That's Prabhupada. Sattva samsuddhi, purity, and jnana yoga, knowledge. Very interesting. The role of a sannyasi and someone who is following it. Now we'll go to Satyam on 727. Keep going. There's Satyam there. This is quick. I'll have you read. I just want to read this for all of you to see. And remember, when we read these things, we're reading what Prabhupada is teaching us and critically examining it. Satyam, the word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages, but the meaning or the purpose should be learnt from a bona fide spiritual master. That is the process for understanding Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from the authority, One should not construe some interpretation, Nilesh, for his personal interest. There are so many commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita that misrepresent the original text. The real import of the word should be presented, and that should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. And that is what is here in the pages of this Bhagavad Gita. Very interesting. And in this purport today from Srila Prabhupada on the Brahma Samhita. I see, do we still have Garuda with us on the talk? Yes, Garuda Prabhu, our friend from Harvard University. Maybe you could make a few comments today on the discussion. Very interesting.
Beautiful. I mean, there's so much to comment on. Vishwakarmaji, I'm having a traffic jam in my head. Always wonderful discussions. Thank you, Nilesh and Vishwakarmaji and Yaśodā-nandana Ji. My pranams to all here. Prabhupada gave us such gifts. It behooves us to rack our brains about how to convey these gifts and how to transmit them to others. Now, I'm in this fortunate position where I go to work and I'm busy teaching Bhagavad Gita. I mean, this is a very fortunate position. So, today I'm talking about how to appreciate the bhakti path, starting from the Vedas, starting from the Upasana Kanda, and showing how this got developed up through the Upanishads and then through the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavata Purana. And, I explained to my students that there are gifts to be had beyond the pleasures of this world, which just also are the other side of the coin of misery. There are really things that we can take with us beyond this life. I really try to get these kids thinking that way. And, when we get to the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I will explain that this is written by someone, translated and written by someone who lived and breathed the tradition, not merely a scholar like I am, but someone who lived and breathed the tradition. Now, they don't know about my personal life, so I just pose myself as a scholar. I see some students actually change. I see them actually change. It's amazing. But many others, they just see it and they're introduced to it, and who knows what they'll take one day, what they'll sort of blossom forth with one day. But that's not our job. Our job is not to know the results of what we transmit from Prabhupada's teachings, but to transmit it nonetheless. I remember in Chicago, back in the old days, Vishwakarma, I think you were there once visiting with Uttama Shloka, and Kirtan was a big thing in Chicago. Between you and Uttama Shloka, we went down on Michigan Avenue, and which is sort of the main drag, as I remember it, through Chicago. And I remember we were at a corner in the stoplight, and people in these very expensive cars would be stopped by necessity because the light was red. And there we were chanting away, and they would look at us with this most amazing, curious expression. And this moved me to write a BTG article, which is to explain that this is not some new crazy thing someone came up with. This is a practice that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, celebrating the divine names. And so I wrote it for the express purpose to help people understand what we're jumping around on the street corners with the music. So people are not used to seeing joy. They're not used to seeing joy, So anyway, we have amazing opportunities. Thanks to Prabhupada.
Yes, and thank you very much. We did, Nilesh and Garuda, we made a focused, myself and Uttama Shloka, we were both professional musicians before we joined the mission. And we were rising up in the material world, I guess. We were opening for a band called The Cream at the Grandee Ballroom, and we played with Ted Nugent and Steve Miller, and different bands like that. And it was a bit of a shock when people in Hamilton saw us with shaved heads on the streets. We were like playing at all the schools and events, and in a small way, somewhat famous back then. And all of a sudden, we're on the streets chanting Hare Krishna with mridanga and kartal, and we were cultivating the kirtan in a big way. As an art, it's a form, it's a musical form that has a lot of attraction.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada demonstrated it quite beautifully in the way he played the mridanga, the way that he sung, the way that he arranged things. He was very meticulous in recording, and you could see all the information, all the information online of Prabhupada in the studios with people, devotees arranging for him to do that. And they captured all of his musical expertise in the studio, and it's saved online. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So there is a real, when kirtan is properly performed, that means without the sahajiya tendency that, like Prabhupada was very much against that, the sahajiya type of chanting. You know, when I was in Vrindavan with Prabhupada, and there were, if you recall, remember going to Vrindavan, you're there back in the 70s, whatever year you were there. At night you'd hear, these people
the loudspeakers were just
everywhere.
abrasive.
We were sleeping on the roof at Raman Reti, and they would chant all night, all the Sahajiya Kirtan.
Yeah.
Prabhupada didn't like that. You know, and
even worse was when we were all down at Fogal Ashram, you were close to where all the speakers were, and it was really hard to get some rest. Anyway, it was an austerity. But yes, Prabhupada was so beautifully, sort of dedicated to the holy name, and you could feel it whenever he chanted. I mean, you could
he was not only dedicated, he was expert.
Yeah.
That's the point. You see, the chanting of Hare Krishna performed expertly by the pure devotees.
Yeah.
And the devotees that were trained by Srila Prabhupada were great moments for all of us. Yes. You know, this is an unfortunate situation that we're in, Nilesh, where we don't have a chance to share kirtan together. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to be coming, hopefully, to some of these events we're having and enjoy kirtan with all of us, because we know how to, the expression back then, Nilesh, was cook it up. And there were a lot of really wonderful kirtan leaders. There was a devotee, Dinesh, and a black devotee, wonderful chanter. And I chanted with him in Vrindavan when Sridhar Swami came to see Prabhupada in Vrindavan. I have a picture of it. Mm. And I was so, honored to be in that situation with all these great chanters that were back then. Vishnu John Swami came to our bus when we were traveling. I had a Sankirtan bus traveling through the States in 1975 that Prabhupada mentions in Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And our bus and Vishnu John's bus met up in Texas. And he came on the bus and chanted Hare Krishna with us. And it was a great honor to have him with us and for him to lead us in kirtan. So kirtan rasa is a very great experience. And when it's chanted in association of like-minded devotees, there's nothing more ecstatic than that. I know in Toronto, you might have come there, we used to chant on Gerrard Street for hours. We would chant for hours. And we had a devotee, Kamsahanta, and he would get so, he was a British guy that we met on a traveling Sankirtan party in Thunder Bay. We made him, I don't want to say we made him, but we were the first devotees to ever travel there, Nilesh, up through Northern Ontario. I led a Sankirtan party. We met a guy named Jitterati in Winnipeg. We met Nandi Keshwar. All these devotees that became prominent back then. And anyway, Kamsahanta came and lived at the Toronto Temple. We would have kirtans. He gets so invigorated by the chanting. He becomes so intensified, he'd have to run upstairs and take a shower to calm down and then come back downstairs to join the kirtan, because we were musicians and we applied our musical talents to the kirtan. So this is the ideas, and this was brought up the other day about the question of Mangalananda. I think Ram, what was his name now? The fellow in Georgia, Ram Raghava, I believe it is. Anyway, he's a doctor there. he asked a question about Mangalananda and what about devotees that do music. It's okay to do music in glorification of Krishna. It's better to do kirtan. Like you'll hear the chanting. I've done a little bit of recordings of the Hare Krishna mantra. But, that's different. When you're a professional musician, you may want to channel yourself into that industry to, popularize, like George Harrison did.
Right.
He popularized Hare Krishna. It was #1 on the British hit parade for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
The Hare Krishna chanting. And he did all that other wonderful preaching through his music. Yes. So it can be done that. Prabhupada loved that. But the actual chanting of the holy name, the performance of kirtan on the streets, and the performance of kirtan in the temples, there are strict regulations for that. And we have to be careful not to get involved in any kind of sahajya chanting, everyone.
Yeah.
Nilesh, maybe you could comment for a minute on as we move to the end of the class. Nilesh Sharma.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Very interesting purport today from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta,
Yes.
which gives me the thought is that I'd like to connect a few dots over here. Srila Prabhupada used to always tell us, like there was a conversation in which somebody says, I'm happy. He says, you don't know what is happiness. He directly told you that you don't know what is real happiness. Now, this again brings us to that particular shloka, tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. You need to surrender to the one who has seen the truth, tattvadarshinaha, one who has seen the truth. Now, of course, the concordant versions are there are many people who have seen the truth. So let us assume for a second, that yes, there are a lot of people who have seen the truth, who are now initiating devotees and disciples and all that stuff. But my question to you is, after reading today's purport of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta and understanding what is the opulence of the Vaikuntha planet,
Yes.
of understanding what is the travel of, how is travel done in the Vaikuntha planets. Now, just to give you an idea, the speed of light is about 300,000 kilometers per second. 300,000 kilometers per second. That is the speed of light. Now remember, even astronomically, according to scientists, they calculate according to light years. Meaning, if light can travel 300,000 kilometers per second, multiply that by 60, that is, it travels that much amount in 1 hour, multiply by that by 24, that is in 1 day, multiply that by 365, that is the amount of distance which the scientists talk about light years. Now, of course, the speed of the mind or the speed of the intellect is much quicker than that. I can in a moment think I am going to be in Mars, or I can think I'm in Saturn, wherever it can be. So the speed of the mind is even faster than that. Now, somebody who has seen this truth and traveled on an airplane which does not make any kind of noise, because all we do nowadays is we wear these noise cancellation headphones because we don't want to hear the hum of the aircrafts and things like that. And you are one of those people who are tattva-darshinas, who have seen the truth, and you have traveled in those celestial airplanes, and then somebody tells you, come, I will take you on an airplane in this mortal earthly planet. How attracted are you going to be to this particular proposition? Prabhupada always told us, senses need always to be engaged. You cannot not engage the senses. All we need to do is detach our senses from material perception and attach it to the spiritual. So imagine if somebody from the spiritual side comes down to this material planet just for our benefit, what is it that we can offer in this material world to attract him or to give up the spiritual world? When you have such kind of opulence, So that is why whenever people who have come from the material, from the spiritual world to us, which are the realized souls, which we call as Nitya Siddha souls, what is it that we can give it to them that would attract them to this material world? Nothing. It's like me having $10 million in my account, in my personal account, and then I'm going to fight with Vishwakarma Prabhu for his 1 cent. Will I ever do that? Would anybody ever do that? This is the power of the Tattva Darshinaha. So if we understand this power of the Tattva Darshinaha, if we follow that, then we will be able to experience real happiness. So even if I were to take you on a private jet, can I stop that hum? I cannot stop that hum. Even if I were to take you on the fastest rocket, on the fastest jet, is it going to be as fast as this celestial plane? So understand this. So when you observe somebody else who is very attracted in maintaining status, in maintaining adoration, in maintaining profit, has this person truly is a Tattva Darshana? Is it really a Tattva Darshana? The question needs to be answered. So when you have a higher source of happiness, you can easily give up lower sources of happiness. And this is what we're doing, is that if we were to follow the Tattva Darshana, we will reach this final destination. Otherwise, there is no hope for us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and it's true, and Prabhupada mentioned in the purport today, just to continue what you were saying, that the soul is hundreds of thousands of times finer and more powerful than the intelligence. We can thus only imagine the velocity of the soul in its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and will not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. So there's a tremendous power in each individual person here, if we can only unleash it by full surrender to the lotus feet of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Garuda, maybe you could give us the final thoughts on today's program.
Well, so many wonderful points. I mean, when Nilesh was talking about noise-canceling headphones, yes, I have a set of those. But if we were on one of the Vimanas, the celestial airplanes, we would be wearing noise, not noise, but sound enhancing, equipment to hear the holy names.
Yes.
And yes, in fact, in the episode of the Ras Leela, you can see in the sky, you see the little Vimanas there?
Oh.
You see them up there by the moon? See that?
Yeah.
So they're observing the Rasa Panchadhyaya, the Ras Mandala, the great Ras Mandala. So this is it's beautiful to think of the celestial airplanes. And then one other thought, when Prabhupada was speaking about appreciating Krishna's complexion, the color, this is just a mere idea of the complexion is a fresh monsoon cloud. This is just and that's true for everything that we perceive here, that Krishna comes in his his Murti, his avatar, Murti avatar, Archa avatar. And I mean, the whole idea is to develop the eyes to be able to see Krishna more clearly. And that's what darshan is about. When Prabhupada is talking about the dark clouds and the lightning coming from the clouds, it immediately took me to a verse in the Bhagavata, which is the 33rd chapter, 9th verse. That's not exactly the same in Hri Dayananda's translation. My translation is 33:9. I think his is 33:10. But in any case, it compares the Vrajagopikas as flashes of lightning against the the beautiful dark clouds that are Krishna. And this is the beautiful image given in the Bhagavata when describing the Ras Mandala. So I just thought I'd just bring that out. And my mind went immediately to the Bhagavata verse. It's a beautiful verse. Oh, you're on mute, Vishwakarmaji. You're on mute.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this evening's reading and discussion of Caitanya-caritāmṛta. It's good to see everyone sticking with us as we go through our technological changes. But this is common in any production in English. But it's moving to a nice new level, and we've got, with the excitement of the Bhagavatams being printed at in a very positive way, and the other programs that we're unfolding with our devotees globally, it's giving us a lot of encouragement to keep going and presenting the truth. These translations, this translating software that we'll bring in, this AI software to help other people in different languages hear the information that we're delivering, will help proliferate our program to a lot of sincere people. I just wanted to get back for a minute just to the Ukrainian situation. They have 22 temples there in Ukraine. Did you know that, Nilesh? 22. And there are thousands of Radhanath disciples there and and instead of printing Prabhupada's books, they're printing these books from Radhanath and distributing them. That's what they're studying. And because of the difficulty in the language changes, these kinds of books here that he's got, the journey within, these people are all focused on these people as bona fide acharyas. So unfortunately, they're missing a wonderful opportunity to connect with Srila Prabhupada. And that is our mission, to help others connect with Srila Prabhupada through these classes, through the books that we're going to print and publish and distribute, and all the other ways and means that we can continue to propagate Krishna consciousness while we're still living. We're all old. Some of us are rather old. So I'm older than you, but we're all eternal. People say, well, you're not that body. Okay. Tell me again.
They will still continue to wear the noise cancellation headphones while we will be traveling in the celestial planes.
Yes. You know something, I wanted to just finish off with this, explaining to everyone, we're not interested in Jugala Priti. No. That is not something that we're aspiring for. But if we can do some humble service together, this will be a great joy. And Prabhupada will be pleased, and we'll let him decide and bless us with his mercy. And this way we'll please Krishna. This is the secret of our philosophy. You keep studying, everyone, keep chanting your rounds, keep following the principles as best you can, and we'll see you again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Sunday with Srimad Bhagavatam as we march forward back home, back to Godhead. Let's move forward with the final kirtan for 2.5 minutes, Prabhupada chanting with the bongo, and then the closing remarks with our other sections we've added to this production of the Krishna conscious philosophy according to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. Nilesh, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I
Hare
offer my
Krishna.
respect. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desire trees and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls.
Haribol. Let's do the conclusion.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.